Right, the federal government, well, they're refusing to release analysis from Treasury showing the costs and benefits of lockdowns, border closures and other COVID-19 restrictions. According to the Australian newspaper, the government is withholding up to 38 separate documents that model the cost to the economy of recent lockdowns, including the 100-day plus lockdown in Victoria. They're classifying them as cabinet documents, which means they can't be accessed using freedom of information laws. But in ordinary times, these sort of economic documents would be available to the media. To discuss this and more, I'm joined from Sydney by broadcasting legend, my good friend, Alan Jones. Great to be with you, Alan. I tell you what, I'm really...
Been? Where have you been? We were in a state of mourning.
Putting my feet up. Oh, stop it. Stop it. You don't look like you're mourning. Look at the colour of that jacket. Hey, I really want to get into this issue because here we have, I mean, I can understand why Daniel Andrews doesn't want us to know the ins and outs of these economic numbers. He doesn't want us to know how much the lockdowns have cost the state economy. But why on earth is Scott Morrison trying to bury this information?
Well, I think the one simple answer to that is most probably it's embarrassing. Look, you know, I've spoken about this many times. Obviously, I think the response to the coronavirus in many ways was out of all proportion to the nature of the problem. We knew those people who were vulnerable, and yet we imposed, I think to use Tony Abbott's words, an economic coma on the country, and the cost to many businesses would be extraordinary. I'd like to see the kind of calculations that have been used to determine the cost to the economy. I mean, there was a picture in the paper at the weekend of a little boy, and the argument was, well, he'll be over 30 before the debt's paid off. Now, the interest rates won't always be where they are now, as you know. And if the interest rates start to climb and we've got this unconscionable level of debt, the cost to us all will be enormous. Then, of course, there's the cost to tourism, the cost to aviation, the cost to business. Should all of these things have been closed down as they were, or should have we said the cohort that's vulnerable are those people we've been told about, those who are over 70, those who've got comorbidities? And indeed, that is exactly what the Prime Minister said on the 15th of March last year. But the bureaucrats obviously got at him.
We're paying for this.
Yep.
No, but we're paying for this, right?
Yeah,
these are our bills. They are our bills.
Yeah.
It's our money. We're paying the taxes to pay off this accumulation in debt. Why don't we get to know the detail?
Well, we paid $350,000 for an inquiry into Christine Holgate, and they didn't release that until, I think, the eve of Australia Day. So there's a lot of secrecy in government. You're absolutely right. I mean, they're public documents, they're our documents. But I suspect that the methodology would be challenged once we saw the documents, and the quantum would certainly be challenged. I think the cost has been infinitely greater than we're being told.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go through the budget when it comes down next Tuesday night with a fine-tooth comb, because I know where the hollow logs are, and I'll go looking to see where I can find in the budget what they're not telling us about in terms of these modelling documents. I want to go to another issue that blew up on Saturday over the weekend. Amanda Stoker, we'll all know her here on Sky. She's now forced to fight for her political career. She was relegated to the third spot on the Senate ticket in Queensland for the Conservative side, for the LNP, when the votes were cast by pre-selectors. She was recently appointed Assistant Minister for Women by the Prime Minister, also the Assistant Minister for the Attorney General. She lost out to James McGrath, who is a coalition senator. He's on the backbench. And this means, because number 2 goes to Matt Canavan on the Senate ticket, she'll be number 3. And that pits her up against Pauline Hanson to stay in the Senate. I don't know, Alan, you're a Queenslander, I'm not, but we all say we want the best people in the parliament. How does this happen?
Well, there are 2 outstanding Conservative women in this country right at the moment. One I'm talking to, and the other is Amanda Stoker. This woman is a potential Prime Minister. It was a pre-selection. As I'll be saying later on tonight in my program, it was a knock 'em down, drag 'em out show, and the person who got knocked down and dragged out was Amanda Stoker. She got flogged, 212 votes to 101. This is a woman whose father is a plumber in Western Sydney, a magnificent academic degree, a judge's associate, now a minister. And at the end of the day, the Liberal Party want to say, well, we're about women. Well, I'll tell you what, we weren't about women when it came to denigrating, dehumanising and defaming Nicole Flint. We aren't about women when it comes to Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells. They're going to move her on. We aren't about women when it came to Tina McQueen as the Senior Vice President, and a man was brought in at the Prime Minister's instigation to be the president of the party when Nick Greiner took a job overseas. So, look, I just don't think we're fair dinkum. These sorts of women are left to pick up the scraps. However, Peter, I will say this. Without knowing it, they may have done Amanda Stoker a favour, and I hope that the Liberal Party are smart enough now to find this woman a seat in the lower house where she will emerge as a potential Prime Minister. She has real ability, Stoker.
Yep.
She's able to think without bureaucrats. And I'm not just saying this because you've worked for him. There are very few of them. Abbott was such a person. He didn't need bureaucrats. He had instinctive ideas that were his own ideas. Stoker is exactly the same. And to our viewers who only know...
I agree. Let's get her in the lower house.
Yeah, absolutely. What you can't.
Let's get her in the lower house.
You,
All right.
You can't.
Well, I'll be tuning into you at 8 o'clock. I'll be tuning into you at 8 o'clock. Someone better tell you that salmon jackets and orange ties don't necessarily work, but maybe you're right across the fashion trends in Sydney that I'm not. Anyway, I will leave it there. See you, Ella Jo. It's great to be back.